this Sunday as we come to worship our Lord and our Savior. It's good to have the playing to a live audience rather than a bunch of chairs that we've been doing so far these past month and a half, these past few weeks. As we come to worship, we are also live streaming, so to just let you know that we are doing that for those who do not feel comfortable with being here yet and with the coronavirus and everything, so they can see it on live streaming as well. I do not know if I will take this and put this onto YouTube though, because we are doing the live service, which means it's going to be like an hour long, and it's a little bit harder to do hour programs on YouTube than it is 30-minute programs. So we'll try it, we'll play with it, but if you don't see it, you know the reason for that. So just let you know on that. Before we do anything else, let's go to a word of prayer, and let's begin with a word of prayer this morning as we do that. Let me pray this morning. Father, we are so thankful to be here together, Father, that we can come see each other again, and we can come and worship together, Father. Thank you for this time that we have. Thank you for the protection that you've given each and every one of us here during this time of the virus as well. We thank you for your blessings of that. And Father, we just come lifting up our hands and our voices and your word today as we come to praise you through song, as we come to celebrate this time. Just be with us, be here amongst us. And Father, we pray that you would actually be touching us and speaking to us in a great and mighty way. In the name of Jesus that I pray. Amen. Amen. As we have been doing with our live streamings, we've been doing scriptures, talking about scriptures and reading scriptures. Hopefully you've been doing that in your homes as well. Let's stand together as we do this in the honor of God's word. And there are two scriptures we want to look at. Our theme this morning is rejoice in the Lord. And I couldn't think of a better scripture than Philippians 4:4 that talks about rejoicing. Then we'll go to the book of Psalms. Join me as we read together. Rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. And then in Psalm 5 we read these words. But let all who take refuge in you rejoice. Let them shout for joy forever. May you shelter them, and may those who love your name boast about you. Let's go to a song that has an idea of rejoicing with it as we go to the song, Sing to the King. Let's lift our voices up with it. Here we go.
I
singing. Here we go. And.
just thank you to gather here together. It's been a while, and certainly we're glad for your mercy that Brian and I, starting off on Sunday, will be able to keep track of what day it is during the week. So, Father, we just thank you for your glory. What wonder, what transport will be, Lord, that we now are coronavirus survivors, and we thank you for preserving us and blessing us during this time. So, Father, we're just glad that I'm thankful for being able to minister to others during this time, and I'm just thankful that we're all together here, whether Dan and I tease each other, and that's just wonderful in the family that we can rejoice in being, because you have adopted us in your family because of the person and work of Jesus Christ, in whom we laud and praise both now and forever. Amen.
Amen. Now we turn over to Brother Dan.
What time is it?
Oh my goodness! Super cool stuff. The rest of us was on Super Dad Church.
No, there you go. Are we ready to switch? I'm actually plugged in. All right, let me go. There we go. All right. I'll give you one guess who Stan is in this picture.
Don't say the middle.
He's a blue shirt to the right.
Blue shirt to the right. Yeah, that's right. Good save, Josh.
Sorry, that actually looks like
The only white-haired guy there.
that looks like
You know, I used an illustration last week, I think it was. And I talked about, imagine being a person born onto the streets of Disney World or Land or whatever they call them these days. And you grow up in this context. You think it's an idyllic world, and everybody's friendly, and you see these cut-out cartoon characters, and you accept them as real entities. And when it comes time for office, these larger-than-life figures, you actually vote for them, and you put them in office, and they're your leaders. And life is good, and you're living there in this cultural milieu of Disney World. And then one day, perchance, you lean against the door, and some worker hasn't locked the door properly, because it's all just facades and little walk-in shops, but there are limits to where you can go. But you fall through their artificial barriers, and you end up in the backside of things where you're now witnessing the magic behind the scenes, the machinations of what is occurring and what they have to do to keep that place operating smoothly. There are tunnels and little trams and people on golf carts and people rushing to and fro to keep it just so and to keep the magic alive. And what you need to understand is, once you've fallen through that, once you've entered into that and you're walking among that, and you didn't know it existed, so it's all new to you, you come back and you close the door, you can't unsee what you've seen. You can't unhear what you've heard. You simply have to process it and think, what's this all about? And why was it that way? And then you begin to explain to people on the street of what you've just seen. And like Plato's allegory, the cave, the person that goes outside in the sunlight comes back in by the fire where they're casting shadows, saying this is reality. Look it up, Plato's cave, if you don't know what I'm talking about. You try to explain it to them, and they get violently upset with you because you're rearranging their reality or their thoughts of how it really is. And I can tell you what's really interesting about that analogy is it refers to each and everybody on planet Earth for the most part, except for those that work behind in the machinations of this industry that runs things behind the scenes. You say, how so? Well, our world is full of people that don't subscribe to the way of thinking that we have. There are those that seek to prey upon us, those that seek to change us. We've all heard the word alchemy. We've all seen the movies that talk about changing lead to gold. There's scenes in it. Some crazy old mad scientist is working on that. But what you need to understand is that alchemy is a term that's used not in that way, although that's one meaning of it, but there's a great many people out there who work behind the scenes that consider alchemy a term for changing the way a society thinks from point A to point B. And we live in a world very much like that, that is seeking in an alchemical fashion to change us. The word Hollywood was very carefully chosen by this people. It describes the only wood that a wizard's wand is made out of. And the things that we see in Hollywood movies are, and there's the occasional independent film that just wants to make it on a subject. But for the vast part of movies and things that come out of Hollywood, they are written, generated, and filmed, and produced, and put out there before our eyes to move us from one way of thinking to another way of thinking. And let me give you a hint on that one. They're moving us from a proper way of thought, if they have their way, to a not proper way of thought. They're moving us from a Christian way of thought to a non-Christian way of thought. They're moving us from a proper God-centered lifestyle to a Luciferian world. And if you don't understand that, you don't understand much. You have the option to stay in Disney World or to pray to God to reveal to you what it is that's really going around you, all around you in this world. I have been looking at these subjects for well over 30 years now. Even before I got saved, I was suspicious of some things. And it seems to be my calling in life that God has been feeding me information all these years on a little bit different track. Not simply for my own knowledge base, so that when I became a pastor, and I've studied it intensely since I've been a pastor, so that I can share it with a wider Christian community. How does that impact on us today? Coronavirus. We have all bitten deep in this thing called coronavirus. And I hope my words drip with contempt because they do. Now I'm going to put an outline for you. As I came home the other day, I said, all these things I know, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write, I'm going to put this outline out. And Melissa Martin sent me this text from Pastor Danny Jones. Pastor Danny Jones. Thank you, Danny Jones, if you ever hear this. But he had already made the outline. Saved me a bunch of time. It was one of those gifts from God. And I've taken his outline, altered it some. But I wanted to give him credit for doing the primary work on it. But it's nothing I didn't know. He just was able to put it in a very succinct order. Part of that was billionaires for years have been working towards a worldwide government. Now, if you don't believe that, I recommend, where I woke up to this concept, was Secrets of the Illuminati by Stan Monteith. I believe Stan still has a disc copy of that. He goes through the history of the Illuminati. And that means enlightened ones. Yeah, they're really darkness, not lightness. They're a crazy bunch of fools is what they are. And they're contrary to God. But you can get a real education on that. Secrets of the Illuminati. I believe you can find it on the internet if they haven't pulled it down on YouTube. Stan Monteith, Secrets of the Illuminati. The League of Nations, they tried after World War I to create that and it failed. World War II, though, they got it done with the United Nations. Interestingly enough, do you realize, now this might be of some concern to some of you, several years back, the UN had a session where they dedicated themselves to Lucifer. Now, I don't know about you and where you stand, but I have real issues with that. Because if you let Dan have his way, I'm very good with equipment. If it's got levers and a big diesel motor, I'll make it work. And I would love to push my way through the UN and turn it into a pile of rubble, push it out into the sea and create some useful space with it, because the UN should be thrown off our country. It should. Now, what I'm about to say, what I want you to know, what I'm not saying is I begin to hammer this coronavirus thing. I want you to know the machinations behind it. But I am not trying to say that coronavirus is not a threat. I'm not, it's a common cold and it's released by a biolab it was engineered, helped, made more effective. There are groups of our population that it targets very effectively. I'm not trying to say that it's not a threat. Do not hear me saying that. But I have been in virtually all but a blind rage over the way our government's handled this, and the way they suspended the Constitution, the way our city government has handled it, the way our state government has handled it. They've suspended the Constitution, and they've taken away the power of the church in one fell swoop, and no one ever granted them that power. Now, you can come in my driveway and ask me for my car to drive. Chances are, if your excuse is good, I'll give you a car to drive. If you have someplace to go, I'll help you out. But you come in my driveway and try to take that from me, it'll get you a lead pill. It's just that easy. And I think it's the same with virtually anybody here. Well, they've taken our rights and they ask nobody's permission. But what I want you to see is this is an alchemical purpose of them to change the American mindset from where we are to where they want us to be. It's called the Hegelian dialectic, problem, reaction, solution. That works fine in normal circumstances. When there becomes a problem, we react to it, we form a solution. The issue is they've been creating the problems. Can you say global warming? When I was a kid in the 70s, we had only 40 years of fuel left, fossil fuels. We were going to run out of gas. We had to raise the price on gas. We had to do this. We had gas shortages. We still got over 40 years of fuel left. I don't know how that works. We burn up a bunch of dinosaur bones in our gas tanks. And that's a lot too, by the way. But then this guy, Trump, comes along in 2016. He gets elected. He derails the globalist plans. And then it's on. And by the time David Rockefeller dies at 101, George Soros, the heir apparent to all things, he's a multi-billionaire. He's in his 90s, but he's been compromised and he's been exposed. They've showed him to the world. And so this little known cat by the name of Bill Gates takes on the mantle, right? Now let me break this to you. If you think that Bill Gates is the richest person on the planet, you don't have a clue. There are puppeteers and families behind him far up that use little pikesters like Bill Gates as puppets to do their bidding. They're the face men. They get rewarded with billions of dollars so that they'll take the heat. His father was a board member on Planned Parenthood advocating for population control. If you don't understand population control today, that is the single biggest item on every nation's agenda, you don't know much. I've been explaining this for many years from this pulpit. They are seeking to reduce the world population by 95%. When you got 7 billion people or more, that's a whole lot of folks. They got to die to make these folks happy. Look up the Good Club if you want something to look up. Guys like Gates, Buffett, Ted Turner, They're part of this. Just look it up. They are in the machinations of. Look up Georgia Guidestones. Ted Turner is probably the man that paid for the Georgia Guidestones, and he's a really potent druid. He's a witch, a wizard. Davos is an organization of about 3,000 of the world's richest people, and they meet once a year to plan your life. Isn't that sweet? The only problem is they don't have the same goals for your life that you do. Matter of fact, they would sooner terminate your life than to let you live. Gates founds a coalition of epidemic preparedness innovations. 2017, they meet to war game the next epidemic. 2017, they created a movie where Bill Gates is actually he didn't play the actor, but he's the star and name. Pandemic plot that equals Corona is released in a wet market. This is 2017. In China. Does that sound familiar? There's something ringing my bell. What is that? Is Bill Gates a prophet or a planner? Well, I don't think he be no prophet. As he sat on the Mount of Olives, his disciples came to him privately to tell us, when will these things be, and what will be the sign of your coming and the end of this age? And Jesus answered them, see that no one leads you astray. We're being led astray, people. Matthew 24, for false Christs and false prophets will arise and perform great signs and wonders so as to lead astray, if possible, even the elect. I always wondered, how could that be? And I have lived to see it. We have sucked this up, hook, line, and sinker. I'm furious with our own leadership that they've been so fooled that they got on board with this. I love them, and I give them the benefit of the doubt that it wasn't purposeful. They're not in on this. But it makes me angry to the core, and I don't think it's my anger. I think it's his that flows through me. On October 2018, Johns Hopkins University hosted an exercise called Event 201, which simulated a pandemic funded by, guess who? Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I know that some of us might be a little new to this, but are you seeing a pattern? Michael Bloomberg, yes, that Michael Bloomberg, School of Public Health simulation predicted C-19 would have the same kill ratio as the Spanish flu in 1918. Oh, there was a Chinese doctor, George Fuji, director of that sounds Japanese, but that's the name. Director of the Chinese Center of Disease Control, also participated. Do you know at the same time what's really interesting about this? Between October 18th and 27th, World Military Games were held in Wuhan, China. Anyone know where that is? Have you seen that on the news? Wuhan, China, where 10,000 persons from 110 countries participated. Approximately 300 were Americans. And those athletes were exposed to this, and they took that bug back to every respective country, all 110 of them. Gosh, what a startling coincidence. January 24th, which is way early, the Congress starts on the CARE bill before anything's being really said that much. They get this secret briefing. That's where the 4 senators went and sold stock, insider trading. The big blather about that in Washington. Otherwise known as standard practice in Washington, D.C. January 30th, the WHO, not the band either, WHO, World Health Organization. You millennials don't even know what the WHO is. It launches a worldwide health emergency with 150 cases worldwide. 31st of January, Trump launches a travel ban. March 11th, WHO, World Health Organization, declares a global pandemic. My, no one saw this coming. somehow from a wet market in Wuhan, China. They fed some pig meat to bats that got infected. I don't know. There have been so many stories. Who knows? They did release something that was a bioengineered weapon. There are multiple versions of it. Some more deadly than others. From what I understand, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a health technician. I'm just a preacher who is in ruthless pursuit of truth, wherever it lies. I make no apology for that whatsoever to any man or woman or spiritual entity on planet Earth. And I don't believe God would ask me to apologize for that ruthless pursuit of truth. Because at the end of it, I find Him in the throne. Now, how in the world do we get 39 million cases of flu worldwide in a year, and there are 30 to 60,000 deaths? We've never had any shutdowns over that. I'm just, I'm confused with Corona. Why we brought a civilization to a standstill. It's alchemical. Satan doesn't like the way we're thinking over here. The world, his little world puppets don't like the way we're thinking. So let's create a problem. We'll have a reaction. Woe is me! And we'll provide a solution. What is that solution? It's a nano ink biometric tattoo. Oh, the patent on it is owned by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Let me explain this to you. You won't be able to leave your house. You won't be able to go to a store. You won't be able to buy. They will keep, unless you have this tattoo, because you've now become a danger to society. Now, there's something ringing my bell in the mind. Anyone care to guess? I'm thinking maybe it's the mark of the beast that's so talked about in Revelation 16:2. I don't have that on the PowerPoint presentation, but it should sound familiar to us, shouldn't it? Really should. How in the world can we be sold on this? How in the world can we be convinced of this? Why, to do that, you have to own the world media. Do you realize that the media is 90% of the media is owned by 5 corporations in the world? Those 5 corporations have boards, and those boards overlap, and they have members from each board. Guess what? So they can all talk about the same subject matter in their alchemical pursuit. Let's change the mind of the public to move over here. They believe in God, they fear God. How do we get them to change that? Let's plant something called coronavirus in their society. We can shut them down. We can keep them from interacting with one another. We can change their minds because they really don't know what's best for them. And this belief they have in God, let's tell them that they can't come and meet in church anymore until this passes, because they don't want to infect each other. And we teach each other, and our people teach our children from ancient days the armor of God and the shield of faith. And I just watched my entire civilization, America, which I'm proud of, take that shield of faith, the Christians, and throw it to the side and run the other direction because of something called Corona. We allow them to violate a principle of Scripture which has eaten me alive. You can tell, I'm sure. Hebrews 10:22-25. By the new and living way that He opened us through the curtain, that is, through His flesh, and since we have a great priest over the house of God, let us draw near with a true heart and full assurance of faith, with our hearts sprinkled clean from an evil conscience and our bodies washed with pure water. Let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, for He who promised is faithful, and let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near. I'm going to give, it's 1-0, enemy won this one. far as I'm concerned. The devil had his way with us. And the reason why I'm doing today what I'm doing is I'm trying to take what God has given me and watching the machinations of the world and studying this stuff ad nauseum. That means towards being sick of it. And I truly am sick of it. The people I study are the most perverse on the planet, and that includes most of the actors in Hollywood. The big names. And transporting it to us, to wake us up, to shock us out of our seats, and to get us to pay attention to those that are seeking to change our mind. 2 Chronicles 7:14 says this, that if my people who are called by my name, well, you hear it, turn from their wicked ways, call upon him, he would turn and answer from heaven. He would incline his ear to us and heal our land. If there has ever been a time to heal our land, it's now. We first need to start praying about guys like Anthony Fauci, who stands before the news at night. He's in those big high flip. Do you realize who gave this virus to the Wuhan laboratory? Anthony Fauci. With a $3.7 million grant to make it more effective. Why are we listening to this garden gnome behind the presidential lectern tell us anything? This lady Burks, she's in on it too. We are being sold a bill of goods, and the scriptures tell us not to be deceived. And I'll finish with this. I've told you many years ago about a video I watched with Aaron Russo, who was a filmmaker. He died of some kind of virulent cancer. I believe they killed him because he wouldn't be assuaged. Had a Rockefeller in New York begin to befriend Nicky Rockefeller. And in that video, he says, Nicky is asked, what's the end result of this? And Nicky goes, we want to put a chip. We want a chip. We want to be able to control people's money. You control their money. You can make them do anything you want to. We are like Gulliver asleep. The church power is still the greatest power on earth. You on your knees, communicating with the living God in the right spirit, have more power than all the demons of hell. The scriptures tell us to resist the devil. And he will what? Bust your head? No, he will flee from you. You don't have to be afraid of the devil. You've got to be smart about these things, these viruses and stuff like that. But you don't have to be afraid of them. And you sure don't have to let the government stomp all over you and tell you what you're supposed to do. My reaction to their problem next time will be a whole lot different. I've had a chance to sort this out and think this through. And I can tell you the rage that I feel isn't mine alone. It's the Lord's. We need to be, as the scriptures say, encouraging one another. And all the more as you see the day growing near. That mark, if it has a behavioral modification involved in it, they now have viruses that can implant you, they'll eat portions of your brain. They will turn you into the most compliant human being that's possible. If that involves that tattoo that they're talking about is either a very close precursor or the mark of the beast. And from that, anyone that takes that, there's no return. Pray about it. See where the Lord will lead you. We serve a mighty God, an awesome Savior. And it ain't over till he says it's over. And we're immortal until he says our work is done. Let's live by that and thank the Lord Jesus for his love. Bow your heads with me, please. Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you We just pray, Father, that you would bless us today. Lord, that you would send us home and let us think about these things and not to believe them outright, but to look them up and to seek your face, to seek your spirit, to seek your answers in your direction. For in the end, Lord, you're the only thing that matters. Bless us now. For it's in Jesus' mighty name that we pray. Amen.
Let's stand together as we come to this time of invitation. We invite you if you have a need and would like to come and visit with our pastor and talk about it with him. We invite you at this time, or just come to the altar and pray. We invite you to do that as well. Let's join in on the song, Turn Your Eyes Upon Jesus, as the Lord is moving amongst us. Oh, soul, are you weary and troubled? No light in the darkness you see. There's light for a look at the Savior, and light more abundant and free. Turn your eyes upon Jesus, look full in His wonderful face, and the things on earth will grow strange to you. In the light of His glory and grace, through death into life everlasting, He passed and we follow Him there. For us in no more have the wisdom, and more than conquerors we are. Turn your eyes upon Jesus, look full in His wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of His glory and grace.
Thank y'all. You be seated, and may I say that it is wonderful to have y'all here. Hey, 2 minutes. I missed you. Thanks for coming.
Won't keep you long as we finish out our service this morning. You don't have a bulletin this morning. Everything's will be electronic for a while until we get back to our normalcy on everything. But you received it this week, and so just check everything. You had a financial report. I want to say thank you for your response when I sent out the email earlier during all this time when we had gone down and there was no giving going on. You're probably like me. I was thinking, this would be 3 weeks, maybe 4 at the most. And of course, it turned out much longer than that with it. But thank you for your response. The amount that you got on that email showed that we had about a $2,000 upswing overall this past month. Really, you could add another $2,000 that I got the other day. We went into a little app called Tidely. Some of y'all have been giving through that, and we will keep it for a while. It doesn't cost us anything. It's all done through the transaction. It's how the cost is handled through that particular app. And we had 2,000 go through that, so add another there. So our month picked up 4,000 in the black for the month of April. So thank you for your giving. I want to say I appreciate that very much on it. For Wednesday night, we will have Wednesday night services, and I think we'll probably be in here rather than back in the oak room, because I'm trying to figure out exactly how to meet the guidelines that we're having to go with on everything with Governor Abbott and everything there, and social distancing he's been asking us to do. So once we get that figured out in the oak room, we'll be back there again. But for this Sunday, there will be here. There will be no food, so we'll start at 7 o'clock. But the next Wednesday night, we will start serving food, and we are making plans on how to do that right now. so that it's handled safely and there is no spread of the virus from one person to another should someone possibly have it that doesn't know that they have it. So we are working on that, but this is coming Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, and then we'll have our praise team on at 8 o'clock on that. So just be aware of that. I'll send out more information to you over the week so you know what's going on with everything there. Don't think of anything else.
I can.
Okay, what do you think?
I can show it. I'll tell you what, there's been one person and his wife that have been superstars. Give them a hand.
Yes.
Now, you answered my questions about Wednesday, so there's no
Yes.
difference. And that's what I would want to, there's still a couple of dozen eggs on the offering table for those who were here earlier. The Lord increased us at home, so those are free eggs back there on the offering table. If you need that for your family, those who have children certainly. All right.
Okay. As you noticed, one final thing I forgot, and that was the giving. As you noticed that we didn't pass the plate, they're in the back, so just as you file out if you haven't already given and you want to give today, just take it off your plate, we'll get it later on. Okay? If there's not anything final, then let's stand as we come to the end of our service today. Thank you for being here. It's great to see each and every one of you back into the house of the Lord along with us. We were getting very lonesome in here. We were just Dan and I and a few others until we started bringing the praise team in. We were glad we brought them in. It was kind of getting lonesome in here. So thank you for being here today with everything. Let's go to our Lord in prayer. Let's dismiss in prayer. I want to ask Josh, would you mind just voicing this prayer, please?
Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you so much for this day and this time that we all get to come back together and worship you and sing praises to you and learn more about your word, Lord. And if we have thrown the shield of faith, Lord, I just ask that you ignite the fire in us again to pick it back up and stand up for what you want us to do and what you call us to do, Lord. We just ask that you put your healing and protective hand over everybody here and everybody that couldn't make it. We just ask that you just bless us immensely during this time. And we just thank you with everything that we have for your son. It's in his name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for being here today.
This is going to go on YouTube? Mm-hmm. Okay, good.